Hello and welcome back. My name is Mugais Jahangir, and as my colleague Alessio mentioned earlier, I'll be your chair for the next two sessions today. We'll begin with our production team first to talk about some of the important translation management functionalities in memoQ. This will be followed by a presentation on memoQ's roadmap. I would like to start by introducing Agnes Varga, who heads one of our development teams, and Zsolt Varga, who is a product owner at memoQ. We'll have a Q&A after each of the next two sessions, and like the previous sessions, you can always use the chat to raise any questions. And now, on to Agnes and Zsolt.
Hello, everyone. I will share my screen first. And so welcome to this session of translation management with memoQ. And thank you for the short introduction. In case you don't know me, I just say a few words about myself. As you can see, Zsolt and I, we have the same name, but we are not related. It's just a very funny coincidence. And I've been with memoQ for 7 years now. And until last year, I was a developer and I worked on memoQ features. But last year, I started to navigate towards more product planning and product ownership. And I also leading a small team of developers. And now let's see what two exciting topics we brought for you. The first one I will present, and then we'll go on to Zsolt. Sorry, I'm confused. I'm missing my second slide, but oh no, I'm really sorry. So this is our first exciting topic, the memoQ web project management system, and let's go into this. And you can see this train here. Two people are traveling on it. One is George, a senior project manager for a translation company, and Kate is his junior colleague, and they are going to work to the office. And as George is starting to doze off, Kate suddenly remembers that she forgot to assign some of the translation documents to her translators, and George angrily and sleepily reminds her that, oh, why don't you use the web translation management system for the memoQ server? And Kate thinks, oh, that's a good idea. And let's see that. And I also say that let's see this web project management system and what it can offer. So first, let's see why it's even so very good. As you can see, you can use it from a mobile phone, and you don't need anything else, just a browser. And it's not tied to any platform. You can use it from your Mac, from a Windows device, from an Android device, from almost any kind of device. And it's also very intuitive. Even Kate, a junior, inexperienced project manager, can start using it without any problems. And I will show this to you. And it's under constant improvement, even if it doesn't have all the features of a memoQ desktop server manager. It's still under constant improvement, and its main advantage over the desktop version that it's very easy to use, and it's easy to start using it. And let's see why it's so good. I brought you some highlights from this web project management system. I won't show you everything, and I'm just showing some screenshots, and then maybe you will feel like starting to explore it for yourselves. And the first thing I wanted to show is the navigation and the settings. On this left-hand side, you see the navigation panel. You can go back to this panel anytime from anywhere, even if you are in a project. And I think that makes it very, very easy to use. Another big advantage is that the settings, the administration page, collects every single setting. You can set everything from here, even customer portal if you have it set up for your memoQ server. You can manage your projects from here. You can manage your offers and requests. You can manage files, your discussions, your resources. Currently, resources include term bases and translation memories. You can go to your web trans editor. So this is always your starting point. And when you start working, obviously you can create projects from here, from the web. And I wanted to highlight that you can use the automation functionality of project templates of the memoQ server. So you can choose either a new project from a template or an online project, and you can set up a project very, very quickly and easily from here. And then when you start managing work, of course, you can import documents. Without that, how could you work? You can import documents, but the new thing is from the next version, 9.4, which will come out in a few weeks. You can also import zip files and with the whole folder structure. And I wanted to show off with this a little bit. And when you imported your files and you have chosen all your nice filters and you have them all, you have your translations, and you can start assigning your work, just as Kate has already started to work on this on the train. And then you can assign documents by languages to translators, which makes assignment very easy. And you can also assign now, selecting several documents, and you can assign these documents to one translator. This will also be a new nice feature. And assignment is also an exciting, this is why I'm also showing this, an exciting feature now, because there's constant improvement to it. This is a new thing that you can assign several documents to one person. And then also there will be improvements and new features for first accept and group assignment. So just keep watching memoQ Web PM. And then at the end, or even during work, of course, you want to manage your project and you want to see progress, how your translators are doing. And you can go to this progress window and you can see the overview, the overall progress, how you're getting on, and also by documents. And also you can see how your people are working and where they are with their work, with translation and with the review. And I also wanted to show a little part of the navigation. So when you are in a project, you can navigate within the project in this little menu above your workspace. So you can see this overview, the progress, the translations, you can see your team members, you can manage your resources, you can create reports like from the memoQ client, like analysis, and you can change some of the project settings, you can see history and your files. And this is what I wanted to show about the memoQ Web PM. And as Kate and George are walking towards their office from the train station, they are also talking about some other cool memoQ features like project templates that help automation and workflows, and also some about machine translation plugins. And I recommend that you explore this for yourself. And as they get to the office, Kate gets really curious about how resources can be managed. And I think I've seen a question about resources. So this next part of the presentation may help you with your questions there. And I give the mic now to Zsolt.
Okay, and I'm requesting control now. And I'm doing it right now. Okay. So I'll be talking about resources. Hi, everyone. This is Zsolt Varga. I'm one of the product owners at memoQ. I joined the company in 2016. And previously, I used to be a translator, freelance translator, in-house translator. I was even a project manager, also a linguistic expert at various LSPs. So I have both a translator and a PM background. And as translator and PM, I normally worked with a lot of resources. And as Agi mentioned, our junior PM is now inquiring about some resources, how to find them and how to use them. All confused, so our senior project manager will show something to this junior PM. So what you're about to see is a sneak peek of our 9.4 resource console. This is our center where you can manage your resources. But before we dig in, let me just talk real quick about what we mean by resources. Most of you probably know it, But if you look at the left side of the screen, you can see that memoQ offers a bunch of resources. We call the top 4 translation memories, term bases, live docs, and uses. Heavy resources, and the rest of them are light resources. They behave in a different way, but for the most part, heavy resources are very strongly integrated into a project, and they provide content. You can store content there, obviously, and you will see that we are now we'll be providing some new features to manage these heavy resources, specifically the top 3 that are users requested: TMs, TBs, and live docs. But before we go there, let me just point out some other things. Among these many resources, I have 2 favorites. So I have live docs and empty plugins. Live docs is what I would call the unsung hero of memoQ. This is a feature that's, I think, one of a kind or top of the line. And you can just do so many things with live docs. There are just so many videos out there and blog posts how to use live docs the most effectively as possible. So I encourage you to dig deep because, as you can see on this little screenshot, you can upload monolingual documents that you would use for reference, bilingual documents. You can even upload translation memories and whatnot. And all these documents come to life. They become live docs in your project as you translate, and you will be surprised how much memoQ can do with these live docs, with these resources. My other big favorite and my other hobby horse at memoQ is MT, machine translation. And I'm sure you have heard or you will hear a whole lot about machine translation. As you can see on the right side, we have a bunch of what we call public MT plugins. These are installed with memoQ, and you can, once you have the right API keys, you can configure them and use them in our projects. The way the reason why I wanted to show them is that, as you can see, I already selected Deepak, Google, Intento, and Microsoft MT plugin. And if I have all these 4 selected, I can use all these 4 in my projects. And we normally support 2 workflows. One is what we call on-the-fly translation, when you're translating and you're on the grid, and along with your translation memories and term bases and whatnot, memoQ provides you with hits from or results from our MT services. So in essence, you will get 4 results if you have the right language combinations and all that setting is correct. The other workflow that we provide is what we call pre-translate. And in pre-translation, obviously, you need to select a specific MT resource for each language, and then you will get those pre-translations from those respective MT resources, MT services. Now let's get to the details. So our junior project manager asks, I have trouble finding my resources. When I have my projects up and running, I know I used something the other day, but I don't know what the name was or what exactly it was, what those resources were. So how do I find them? And our senior project manager says, well, looks like you haven't checked out memoQ's 9.4 yet. So if you take a look at it, you can see that you can find your resources in so many different ways. You can search and filter. You guys have already seen these basic metadata that you can search by, but as you can see, we have some other things that we will introduce in 9.4 pretty soon, in a couple of weeks or so. You can now search for translation memories, term bases, and live docs by the last modified date, the last use date, whether those resources are used in projects, and according to their sizes. I created a little screenshot of the last used, which is the same as for last modified. You have these options. I think it's pretty neat for project managers if they want to do some housekeeping, or they want to locate some of the resources they're looking for. So they can just show all, or they can filter for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or even select a custom date, both for last modified date as well as last used date. Another neat feature is when you're doing some cleanup, as your TMs really just, you lose track of your TMs and you want to clean up the ones that you no longer use, is now to filter for translation memories or turn bases or live docs that are used in projects or those that are not used in projects. So obviously, if you filter for those that you no longer use, you have an idea that, especially if you see that the last use date is either not applicable or very old, you can just go ahead and delete them. So I think this is going to be a powerful tool not only for project managers, but actually also for freelancers. Let's see, what else do we have? We are introducing some new operations with multiple resources. Let's see, you can already, you were already able to add and remove multiple TMs and TBs in 9.3. With 9.4, we are adding live docs to our offering as far as what we call batch operations or operations with multiple resources. One neat thing on this slide is that you can select multiple translation memories. As you can see, this is a multilingual project. It has different target languages, namely German and Hungarian. And if you select the target language, all languages view, you can select just as many TMs as you want. And once you click Use in Project up in the ribbon, memoQ will automatically distribute these TMs to their respective target languages. And this is going to be especially useful for those working with multilingual projects, localization and whatnot. Another neat feature that I think you will like is deleting, exporting, or exporting and deleting multiple resources. This is just a screenshot of a very typical workflow where you selected multiple resources to delete, but memoQ immediately warns that, well, first of all, we have the following resources in projects, so please review them before you actually delete them, because if you delete them, obviously your translators will not be able to use them in their projects. In addition, we already have export resources before deleting to encourage our users to export resources, because once they are deleted, as the last checkbox or the label next to the checkbox says, once you delete the resource, it's a permanent thing. You cannot really undo it. So this is like foolproof. We really push our users to consider all the options and the consequences before they commit to any final decision. And one tiny bit of information: this option, this batch delete, is only available to users who are in a user group where this batch delete option is authorized by one of the administrator users. So by default, your PMs will not be able to do this. But if you believe your users in the project managers group are knowledgeable enough and you can trust them, then go ahead and in 9.4 you can authorize this feature for them, and they can do the cleaning for you. The last thing I want to talk about is importing multiple TM export files. Very often you would have like TMX, CSV, or even SDLTM files, which now we will be supporting the direct import of SDLTMs in 9.4. So if you have any of these TM export files, you have the option just to highlight as many as you want. Then you tell memoQ which scenario to follow, whether to import all those files into your selected TM, the one that you selected on the resource console, for instance, or you import all these files into a brand new TM, or the third option is just create a brand new TM for each and every file that you want to import. And once you select your option, I selected option number 3, we get to this import TM files wizard window, which will help you decide whether you need to take any action. For instance, for the CSV file, you need to set the correct languages. That's why we have this error message. Or you can just it seems to be that everything is fine with the SDR-TM file. With the TMX files, you can also change some settings. And depending on your changes and settings, we have this import button either enabled or disabled. And all this user-friendly interface really just helps you decide what to do with them. And once you click import all, then what you have selected, the option will be executed, and you have all those files imported. So this is something that hopefully will make the life of our PM users especially easier and more pleasant. That's all I wanted to say, and I think this is the time when we can answer some questions. Okay, Agi, would you like to start? Because I have just opened up the chat as I have finished the presentation.
I didn't want to take control. Like I think you are controlling, so I cannot
Still?
see.
I already gave up control.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm checking the chat.
Let's see.
I'll read it out for you if you like.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
There's
I
a
have to
question.
select.
Okay, there's a question from Nino, who's asking, will new filters become available with memoQ Web 9.4 as well? And will batch delete become available for hard resources via desktop client?
The batch up. You mean the batch operations that I just presented?
Nino, would you like to unmute yourself and?
Hi.
Hello.
Are you
Hi,
able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to just explain the question again?
Yes, thank you. So in memoQ 9.3, we've noticed that we are now able to batch delete translation memories and term bases. Previously in the desktop client, user was able to do it only one by one. So I wonder whether ability to batch delete would be an option in the desktop client.
The one that you just saw in my presentation, that was from the desktop. So all these batch delete, batch export, and batch import TM, those are available in the client in 9.4. The ability to batch delete in the web PM will remain there, but once again, like I said at the end of my presentation, you need to make sure that the user is in the correct user group that has authorization to batch delete resources, because as we introduced this new control in the client, we had to introduce it in the web version as well, so that we can remain consistent. So that's one thing, one word of caution. If you have been accustomed to your PMs being able to batch delete resources on the web, once you have 9.4, you need to get into the server administrator interface and make sure to authorize batch delete for that particular user group, for instance, project managers, because by default, only members of the administrators group are allowed to batch delete from 9.4 onwards, both in the client as well as on the web.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
Very exciting.
And more to come in the web. So we plan to have these batch options available on the web later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was a question from Carmen. Will importing a selected TM overwrite the data that already is in the TM?
I'm looking at the questions. Sorry, can you repeat it, Peter?
What's the name, Peter? That we need to
it's from Carmen Ibera. Will importing to a selected TM overwrite the data that already is in the TM?
It just works exactly the way it is supposed to work with a single TM import. You have on that wizard, you can actually have like common options selected for a specific file type. So for instance, you can say that for all TMX files, you want these values to be overwritten. So it's the very same controls, the very same custom field conflicts, whatnot. You can just specify for every single TM, or you can do it in batch.
There's a question from Jeremy Bailey, and I suggest that he unmutes himself and asks the question himself, because I suspect he'll have a follow-up question when you answer it.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jeremy, long time no see.
Hi.
Yeah, indeed. Hello. This is maybe more of a support question, but I was just curious. I'm happy to see that the features to batch add and remove projects or resources from a project is being improved in 9.4. The use in project command that was newly added in 9.3, we had found some issues where some TMs sort of stubbornly resist attempts to be added to a project, whether they're term bases or translation memories using the use in project command. I haven't had a chance to report it, but I wondered if you guys were aware of certain cases where that might be happening, and if there are any improvements to that feature coming in 9.4.
Yeah, I did notice one bug report where it was about Q term bases that didn't have the exact language. So instead of say English United States, it only had the general English, and then those would not be added to the project. So we've revamped that feature, and hopefully that's going to solve your issue. If it doesn't, just feel free to report as usual.
And there's a question from Vicken, who's asking, can in memoQ Web 9.4 can plugins be configured? And I presume what that means is, can you configure them on the web interface?
Which like MT plugins or MT
Vicken,
plugins or TM or QA?
Yes, MT plugins, and we have also spelling verification plugin. If they could be configured directly on the web.
Not yet. These light resources are not manageable yet from the web, but I guess sooner or later, maybe.
So do you see it happening in the near future?
I didn't see a trace of it yet, but I don't know. Maybe Zsolt knows more about it.
It's another product owner who's working on it, and all we know is that we need to prioritize features that we want to sort of port to the web from the client. But if you submit like feature requests to us, the more we get, the more likely that on the priority list, those specific features will be added to the web.
And also Daniel will talk about how you can contact us in several ways, not just here and writing tickets, etc. And then he will also talk about our roadmap in the next session.
Okay, thank you.